with a spear, I feel like I could pick a fight with a grizzly bear and win. If you're still alive, your purpose isn't finished. All that God asks of you is that you are willing. Yo! You're watching The Night Shift, where we discuss how young Christians can better live out their faith in a culture that is not conducive to Christianity. Today we're talking about purpose, how to find your purpose, what purpose is. I think that we were actually pretty lucky because it seems like we had sort of a set direction and purpose in our lives at a very young age. A lot of people don't figure that out until their 30s.
I was 8.
You were 8. How did that come about?
Well, fun story. This is Dax and this is Otto.
I think we've introduced them about 7 times now.
Well, they're worth introducing multiple times.
Okay.
So when I was 8 years old, we were reading, we would read those missionary books, right?
You mean the emotionally scarring ones?
Yeah, those.
Yeah.
I enjoyed them.
I remember there was a story about a man who froze to death, and they just left him there as like
I
a
think
sign
that was
of warning.
like Jesus Freaks.
Yeah.
That wasn't the ones I was talking about.
Oh, okay. I just remember the martyr one because there were stories of like dogs eating people and all sorts of.
That was Jesus Freaks.
My mom made me read that at 6 years old, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I bought it and then she made you read it.
Yeah.
Anywho, we would read these missionary books, right? And there was this one about this lady. Her name is Lillian Tracer, and she started an orphanage in Egypt. Mm-hmm. And then I felt like all I wanted to do then I decided that I was going to live in Egypt and work at the Lillian Tracer orphanage. But from that came my purpose, which is like to love unconditionally those that no one else will. So there they go.
Would your dogs fall in that category?
I think everyone loves my dogs. They're great.
Anyways.
Grandpa said they're so well behaved.
Yeah, they're well behaved. They're just
Crazy.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah. What would you think the
Attention
cumulative IQ between those 2 dogs is?
90.
Like half a SpongeBob?
More, because I feel like Patrick's probably a little bit more than that, so probably a Patrick.
Probably one full Patrick?
Yeah.
I would buy that.
Okay. I don't know. Dax is actually a little bit smarter than he seems.
Yeah. Anywho.
So.
You were talking about Lillian Tracer and
Yes.
the orphanage.
Yeah, so I wanted to go work at the orphanage. Obviously, I did not do that, but that's where just this whole fire birthed in me of wanting to love those, like I was saying, unconditionally that no one else will, which goes amazingly with what I do now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been able to do that in many aspects of my life.
Yeah. I remember for me it was, I was a little bit older. I think it was 13. It was my first trip to Vegas, which is actually kind of a funny way to find your...
Find your purpose in Vegas. That's the new slogan.
Yep, exactly.
Come to Vegas.
No, I was actually on the flight back from Vegas. We were taking a Spirit Airlines flight, and inevitably, it got pushed back. I think I was on the flight for 5 hours, and it's not a 5-hour flight between here and Vegas. It's like a 3-hour flight.
I can get to California in 3.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, during that long flight, I was asking the Lord what my purpose is, because when you go through Vegas, you don't see a whole lot of purpose and meaning. I say like every place that you walk into in Vegas smells like tobacco and failure.
And old lady perfume.
Yep. And a lot of weed too. There's a big weed smell.
Of weed.
That's where I really became sensitive to the weed smell, and it almost became nauseating to me. I can't handle it now. If I smell weed anywhere, any place, anytime, I have to point it out because it's just so...
Everyone, it's like, does that smell like weed?
Yeah, exactly. It's so nauseating. But anyways, moving on, I clearly heard the Lord tell me, and it wasn't through an audible voice, it was more through a thought kind of implanted in my brain that I'm not smart enough to come up with, but that I was here to bring hope to the hopeless and restoration to the broken. And I didn't necessarily know what that looked like, and I think there's a practical reason for that we'll get into later. But that's sort of what I received in that moment, which was very interesting because I wasn't necessarily connected to God at that time. I wasn't really walking with Him. I wasn't walking in repentance, and yet He saw fit to kind of give me this purpose and direction for my life, and that's when I realized, God gets to assign purpose to something because He's the one that created everything. And that kind of leads me into what purpose is and how to find it. Listen, if I were to ask you what the purpose of a rocket ship is, you may be able to give me
To go to space.
a semi-solid answer.
To go to space.
Shut up.
That's the purpose of a rocket.
Okay, well, maybe something more complicated. I don't know.
No, to go to space.
Okay, well, if I had no idea what a rocket was, if you had no idea what a rocket was, say you were an idiot, metaphorically, purely
I'm
hypothetically
Otto.
speaking, right? If you wanted to know what a rocket ship was, you could maybe come up with something on your own. You could look at it and say, okay, maybe it's a house, maybe it's a car, I don't know. Maybe it's just a really big car. Or you could ask Elon Musk, and he would probably be able to give you a pretty good idea of what that rocket ship was meant to do because he created it. And so if you want to find your purpose...
Did Elon Musk create rocket ships?
He created the only ones that work well.
Oh. I don't feel like he's old enough for that.
You haven't been following Elon Musk very closely, have you?
No, not at all.
See, his rocket ships can launch and then re-land themselves by themselves. They used to just be one and dones.
Yeah, I knew that.
But you didn't know that he made rocket ships?
No. I thought he made cars.
Well, he does make cars too.
Oh, that's
And he makes tunnels.
and bought Twitter.
Yeah, and he makes flamethrowers too. It's another thing he does.
Flamethrower?
He does make flamethrowers. You can't get them anymore. I think that they outlawed them, but he did make flamethrowers for a little
Fire.
bit. Yeah, you would have gone a little bit crazy with that.
I had a torch when I was 9.
Yeah,
Off topic.
she's kind of teetering on pyromaniac. We've kept a close eye on her, but she hasn't done anything too crazy yet. She just likes
No,
to.
I just burn matches and watch them.
Yeah, she just likes to look at fire.
Dude, that's why I have a fire pit right there. Anyways,
The point being,
Elon Musk makes rocket ships. I've had a massive amount of caffeine today.
yes, I can tell. Also, we're trying to restate that again. The point being, if you want to find your purpose, ask the person that fashioned you. Because if he fashioned you, he did it for a reason. Elon Musk doesn't make rocket ships for no reason, right? He makes them for a reason and a purpose, and he knows exactly what that is. God made you for a reason and a purpose. And nobody can know the fullness of that purpose. They maybe can evaluate your strengths and weaknesses and try to give you a general idea, but nobody can know the fullness and richness of your purpose except for the one that fashioned you. So he's the person that you have to seek out for it, you know?
Yep, I agree.
That's all you have to add to that?
I agree. I mean, mine wasn't like, mine was obviously different than yours. Mine was just that burning passion.
Yeah.
Like I felt it, and I was like, and that has kind of changed direction. I was like, oh, I'm gonna work in an orphanage. Oh, I'm gonna work here. Like there's different like lanes that I've been like, oh, this is my purpose. But it always just kind of came back to that one little statement.
Yeah.
That I'm not sure if I came up with it when I was 9, but I felt that fire in me when I was 9, or
Yeah.
sorry, 8. When I was 8 years old, when we read that book, I was like, I want to do something like that. Like I want to be like that. I want to help them. I want to love them. I want to do that. So
Yeah.
I don't think it was like it wasn't an audible voice, and it wasn't even just an idea in my head. It's like I felt it, everything in my body.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
a little different experience.
Yeah, no. You're saying really great stuff, but it's at like negative 10 decibels. So you may need to bring that up a little bit.
Can I hold it?
I mean,
Is
yeah,
that
that's actually
like
probably
an
better.
acceptable thing to hold
Yeah.
it?
You're not really a projector, are you?
We've had this conversation. I think we've had this conversation on here. I can project.
When you're mad at somebody.
Well, yes, but it's so funny. I can be speaking somewhere. Like I was doing it a couple months ago. I was speaking. They're like, "Hey, we don't do mics." So I was like, "Oh, great,
Yeah.
awesome!" And I was able to project across the room. But if like I'm just sitting here with someone, I have a very like softer voice.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, even the other day at training, I mean, there was like 6 rows, 7. Whoa, no, there were like 10 rows, and I was able to project all the way back without a mic.
I feel like that's the dichotomy of your entire personality.
Yeah.
In organizational settings, you're very,
Take
But-
charge, authoritative.
yeah, one-on-one, in closeness, you're a
Very
very soft
soft.
person.
And my voice just reflects that.
I just therapist the crap out of you.
You really did.
Anyways, moving on. I actually have some like practical things that people can do
Cool.
to try to find their purpose. And again, this is all like divine revelation. I think the most important thing when seeking out your purpose to realize is that if your purpose can be accomplished in your own power, it's not a divine purpose.
I can definitely not love people unconditionally under my own power.
I can vouch for that. The other thing is that if your purpose if the mission statement of your life has more to do with you than it does with others, then it's not a divine purpose. There's something incredibly wrong with that, because you are too small a thing to live for. I'm far too small a thing to live for, and I think I've said that before on numerous occasions. But yeah, if the purpose for my being alive is simply to gratify myself, to accumulate things for myself, there's something extremely wrong and chronically unfulfilling about that kind of lifestyle. And that's what I like about what John Bevere had to say in his book Multiply. And this is something that I actually almost to the word articulated before even reading that book and wrote down.
Don't you love that?
Yeah. You were actually there for this devotion that I wrote, where I said that I want to die empty at the end of my life.
When was this?
We were doing a staff devotional at the last house that we lived in.
Did we do staff meetings there?
We did a couple staff meetings there, yeah. Mom asked me to do a devotional literally the morning of the devotional.
I hate when she does that.
Yeah, like 2 hours before it started, she was
Well,
like, hey, type
and I
something
hate it
up.
on the other end too, because I'd be like, hey, can you like kind of give me an outline of what you're going to talk about, or like an idea for like the next few weeks?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. But anyways, in that devotional, like at the end of it, my statement was, I want to die empty, holding nothing back, because then and only then will I know I didn't withhold anything from God, my family, or my friends, or the people around me that I love. And
Does that include bank accounts?
what do you mean?
Like, do you want your bank accounts to be empty when you die? Just practically asking. Because
Possibly.
I can make that happen.
I mean, I don't think anybody, once you die, your bank account, I mean, that money goes somewhere. So whether it's through an inheritance or to pay off debts, unfortunately, like our money never stays in that. So yeah, by process of elimination. But that's not really the crux
I
of
was
what I'm
just
talking
wondering.
about. Okay. You ask very interesting questions, you know. Do you want your bathroom to be empty too? You want all your toilet paper to be gone?
I would hope your bathroom would be empty. That would be kind of weird.
Yeah, no, that was a weird explanation. You're throwing me so far off topic with all these.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. See, this is the purpose of a co-host, for you to plan everything out and then for them to come in like a wrecking ball and just dismantle
I love it because
and then-
like we talked about this the other day. He's like, I actually want to start like preparing a little bit more for these, so we're not just rambling. And so he's like, and I kind of told him a little bit of what I wanted to talk about and like my points, and he has all these notes, and I'm just here.
Yeah, you did just get off the shift though. So
I
think that's
did.
worth
I did.
saying.
I
Yeah.
did. I just did literally just get off work in the
And
safe house.
remind everybody what you do again.
So I work with trafficking victims. I am the program director of our safe houses. So while the girl's with us 24/7, we have advocates with them, and I run that program. So I just got out of the house and sped over here.
Yeah. So if you want to know if she knows what she's talking about when it comes to purpose, that lines up incredibly well with your purpose.
It does.
But you've done a lot of other things throughout your life, same with me, that maybe don't perfectly epitomize what our purpose is, but you're able to live out your purpose in an unideal environment. And that's another truth of the reality behind purpose, is that your purpose can be lived out and walked out in every single environment.
You took my point that I wanted to talk about today.
Well, it's written down, so it's mine.
No, I told you that the other
You
day.
did?
Turd.
Okay, well, why don't you talk about it then? You have
Thank
the
you.
floor. I'm using that soundbite, though.
Great. So the biggest thing that I want to say about purpose is like, I think a lot of people put their purpose on their job.
Yeah.
Or put their purpose on a title. So whether that be even being a mom, maybe like, oh, my purpose in life is to be a mom.
Yep.
No, it's not.
Right.
Those things are all a part of your life, but your purpose should be, like you were saying, should be able to be lived out no matter what. So when I had that epiphany at 8. I obviously do not live in Egypt, nor do I work in orphanages. I have definitely like volunteered in orphanages. I have helped build them, clean them, repaint them, play with all the kids. I've done that. Loved it. But and I was like, maybe I'll be a missionary. That never happened. Maybe
Still time.
Maybe I'll be a school teacher. I do not want to be a school teacher.
I don't blame you.
Props to any of you that are school teachers.
It takes a very specific person.
Oh, I don't have patience
Yeah.
enough for that. So then it kind of got into high school and like, you know, my last couple years, and I'm like, okay, I got to decide like what I want to do. And I was trying to decide between being an ER nurse and being a hairstylist. And through, we could probably talk about that a whole nother time. I did not think I was smart enough to go to college, and I wanted to be both of those things equally. So it's not like I really had to give up one, be like, oh, I'm just not smart enough, so I can't do that. Like, I really wanted to do both of these things.
Yeah.
So I ended up becoming a hairstylist, and I was truly able to actually live out loving those unconditionally that no one wants to through that. And I know we'll actually talk about this another time, but like actually putting care into what I did.
Yeah.
Not just being like, oh, I want to get this person back in and I want to make the most money. That didn't matter to me. I could have charged so much more than I did. I was pretty sought after in my time of doing hair and beginning and all that. So it's not like I couldn't have charged a lot more than I did, but I cared more about the people than the product. And I still say that today. Like I was saying it to a girl in the house today. I care way more about the person than the policy.
Yeah.
So even though I wrote all the policies, I definitely care more about that person. So my purpose was able to be lived out. And there were times where I was able to give services away to people that I knew may be struggling financially. Because as a woman, like, your hair means so much to you.
Yeah.
I was able to minister to a lot of people. I was able to pray over every single. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I was able to pray over most people. I'm not gonna say every single one because I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to claim that, but I was able to pray over most people, especially as I was like shampooing their hair, because it's a time where they're relaxing and it is very quiet. I was able to actually give free services to survivors at different times. I would put together events, pull other hairstylists in.
I remember that.
Yep. It was so much fun. So I was able to do that. And then I was brought over to the organization that I work with now. And I was just over volunteer coordinating and like serving time in the house. I said serving time as if it's like, serve your time, but you know what I mean? But I think it's because of the way that I loved the women and because of that take charge in me and that everything that I do, I own it. Like, I take ownership of it. I'm like, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
So I was able to obviously continue to live that purpose out. And I think that I'll probably continue to be able to do that in different fields throughout my life, and in different ways, whether that is one day being a mom or like that purpose is able to live out wherever I am, whether it's sitting in the house with a girl, whether it's having coffee with one of my advocates, whether it's doing someone's hair, whether it's sitting with my husband, because sometimes he's not very lovable. I'm kidding. He's awesome.
I think he's pretty great.
He's awesome. He's awesome. But so my purpose is lived out wherever I am. It's not based on, like, if I had to stop doing this job tomorrow, that doesn't mean my purpose is gone.
Yeah.
A purpose is a calling on your life, not a job title.
Yeah. And that's what I love about the way that your purpose is formulated, because it sounds a lot more like a mission statement for your life. And you can apply a mission statement to literally every environment that you're in. I mean, I'll even take mine, for example, hope to the hopeless, restoration to the broken. There's hopeless, broken people in every industry, in every area of every part of human life. And so no matter what position I find myself in, rich or poor, first world country, third world country, doesn't matter. There's going to be people that I can reach, that I can touch, that I can help, and that I can live out my purpose. So a lot of people, I think it's important what you were talking about, because a lot of people do feel limited by their circumstance. They think, okay, whenever I get out of school, maybe I'll be able to live out my purpose because I'll have the right credentials, the right qualifications. God never once in the Bible asks you to be qualified or to be certified.
Never. I think he actually goes for the least qualified people because it shows his glory more.
Exactly. Or the people that believe they're the least qualified even, but that's not even necessarily the case. All that God asks of you is that you are willing and courageous enough to be obedient to what he tells you to do, which isn't always an
Otto,
easy
stop
thing.
eating bugs.
Your dog is pretty stupid, isn't he?
I told you.
But yeah, so if you're out there in a circumstance where you think, okay, maybe I'm just in middle school, maybe I'm just in high school, maybe...
How about you be the kid that goes, my husband used to do this too, actually. We both did. How about you go sit with the kid at lunch that no one else wants to?
Yes, yeah. And I think that every purpose, no matter what your purpose is, if you're in a situation where you're serving somebody, you're fulfilling your purpose. I don't care how your purpose is worded, what arena is most suited for your purpose. If you are serving someone in any way, shape, or form, you are fulfilling your purpose in some way.
Well, I feel like even with you and me, it's like, bring hope to the hopeless, and like I do that in the house, and you probably love people that no one else wants to. Like we kind of, to your point, we fulfill each other's purposes even in what we do.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that reveals an interesting point that, like, God has basically, he gave everybody one great commission and one final commandment, right? Go forth and make disciples. That's the great commission. We can all fulfill that in our own specific ways, in our own specific lanes. And he gave us one final commandment. What was it? Love others as I have loved you. You can do that anywhere.
And he laid down his life and his son for us. So
yeah. You can do it anywhere, any way, anytime. But yet he still gives us the individualistic timbre to fulfill that in some specific way. That's how good of a father he is. He says, you know what, not am I only going to give you a blanket purpose to encapsulate my entire church, this is what I want my church to do, I'm going to give you a purpose that helps to meet that end as an individual, but is also specifically catered to you and your strengths and who you are and how I've wired you as a person in your mother's womb. Mm-hmm. That's how incredibly blessed we are to have a job to do. To be able to walk in here and say, yeah, I have a unique purpose specifically catered to me, but it's just a small part of something so grand and so magnificent that I couldn't even explain it to you in my own words. That's pretty cool, you know?
It is. I don't know how you want me to respond to that.
We're going to get better at this.
Good job. I agree.
It's episode 3.
Sounds great.
We've got time. We're gonna figure this out.
There's a big doggy.
Yeah, I know. There was some raspiness in that voice. It was like a dog straight out of a Tarantino movie.
Don't look that dog in its eyes.
Really?
It will bite you.
I kind of want to now.
It's a big dog.
Is it a crazy dog? So this is a weird thing about me. One of the things that I'll do, like if I just start kind of dazing off into daydreams and everything like that, one of the things that my mind will go to is what animals I could take in a fight. Like what wild animals.
You can take my dogs.
Well, I could take them in a fight, yes. With a spear, I feel like I could pick a fight with a grizzly bear and win. If I have a spear that's long enough, like I feel like I could do some damage to a grizzly bear. What?
I don't know if I agree with that.
Okay, what about a giraffe?
I mean, giraffes aren't like...
Swoop under the neck, right? Get close, boom to the leg once he's down.
Have you seen giraffes' tongues?
So, okay, interesting thing about tongues. I have actually played Ultimate Frisbee with a cow tongue before.
I've eaten a cow tongue.
You one up to me. I feel like more people have eaten cow tongues than played Ultimate Frisbee with cow tongues.
It's been a lot of Mexican dishes.
Yeah. We just did it because it was Durant, Oklahoma, and there was nothing else to do. We went onto the football field, we threw around a cow tongue, and the coach came out and he was mad.
I would be too.
He's like, what are y'all doing on my field? We were like hiding the cow tongue behind our backs. We didn't want him to see it.
We're not doing anything. Nothing at all.
I'll tell you what, that thing hurt if you got hit in the face with it, though. Those things are heavy. They got some swole tongues.
Oh, it's way worse than a football.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By far. I mean, because especially like if you fling it almost like a boomerang, it picks up that like centripetal force. That thing has some speed. Anyways, don't get hit in the face with a cow tongue.
Now I want to know if a giraffe tongue hurts.
I bet it does. I mean, they're bigger.
They're very long.
But I mean, he's not going to like slap me with his tongue and just kill me with it. If I can break one of his legs, I got him. Here's another question. How many caribou could a moose take in a fight?
A lot. Have you seen mooses? Or moose? Yeah. They're...
Moosin'!
Mooses. Moose. How would you say mooses? That doesn't sound right.
A flock of moose. A school of moose.
No, just they're...
Schooling about.
A moose is a
North Dakota.
Very large animal.
It is a very large animal. It's incredibly tall. It has a big old rack of horns.
But
I mean, caribou. So I recently went to New Mexico, right? This is the reason the whole caribou question is a question. And we were rolling up the mountain at like midnight, And it's eerie up there. Like, it's kind of creepy.
Why are you going up a mountain in the middle of the night?
Well, because we had to drive there.
Oh, fair enough.
And we come to this opening, still
I just
going
pictured
up.
y'all hiking up this mountain.
No. We were in a
the
car.
night.
We were in a big van.
That's better.
And I
Oh,
looked to
the white van in the field?
Yes.
Yeah.
I look to the right, and I see this army of caribou in formation. I promise you, they were in like neatly formed columns, like they were ready to just pick a fight with some massive force of moose. And so it was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. Just this army of caribou ready to do damage.
I think caribou is such a funny word.
Say boo.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I know that's what you were thinking. That's why I said it.
It's just a funny word to sound
Yeah.
so vicious. It's just a funny word.
Those things are terrifying.
Like hippopotamus. Like, I know they're so mean and deadly, but like.
But when you look at them,
especially babies. I just don't believe it. Like, I know it, but I don't believe it.
I mean, if a hippopotamus were to not have a name, or if I wouldn't know the name of a hippopotamus and I would look at it,
It would be scarier.
I would still think that it has a strange name just because of the way it looks.
What about a platypus?
Yeah, there's no explanation for those things. Those things are weird.
Have you ever actually seen one?
I believe there was one at the Fort Worth Zoo.
I don't believe they're real. I've never seen one. Like a real one in person. I think they're made up.
Well, they're not light blue.
Well, I know that. But I'm just saying, I've never actually seen one, so I've decided they're not real.
What's the purpose of a porcupine?
I have no idea. But they're so cute.
A porcupine?
Yes, have you looked at their little faces?
Have you looked at their spikes?
I know, but like they're cute.
Agree to disagree.
White girl will take all
Yeah.
animals.
Okay. Moving on.
Other than a platypus or a nutria, I will not take those.
Another practical tip to find your purpose, because there's no way to transition into that smoothly. Like, I was thinking about that this entire time. There's just no way.
If a platypus had a purpose.
If a platypus were to try to find his purpose, this is what I would tell the platypus to do. Now, a practical tip to find your purpose, if you just feel completely lost in this whole journey, is to read the Bible. Let me tell you why. Because this life, this story of mankind and of creation, is God's production. And we are just actors in this massive play. And in order to fully understand your role, you need to read the entire script. You need to understand that I am just a small piece in this massive, masterful love story. And a lot of us are walking around just asking God for our specific list of lines. It's like, God, I don't really care what you're doing. I don't really care what your purpose for the earth is and what the whole macro version of this is meant to be. I just want my lines. I just want to know what I'm supposed to do tomorrow. That's what I need from you. That's the only revelation I want. I don't need to seek out this big macro plan of yours. I don't need to know why you created us. I don't need to know why you even put the tree in the Garden of Eden. I don't need answers to those questions. I just want to know what I'm supposed to do tomorrow, next week, next month. That's a horrible mentality to approach life with.
Okay. I somewhat disagree.
Okay.
Because I do think that, like, yes, you need to know the reason, like, God created stuff, but like we're not gonna know why he put the garden, like the tree in the garden. We're just not gonna know why he did that.
I have a good guess.
But you don't know. You said a guess, and like we're not gonna know exactly why he created us. Like those are like you're saying. Like I don't know. I don't think these are things we're actually gonna know until we see him face to face.
I mean, I think a lot of things are answered.
Like,
in
was he
Scripture.
just bored?
No.
But I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I don't think we can have the whole picture.
Yeah.
He can give us our piece, but we don't get the whole picture because we're one person. You have to have the whole body to have the whole picture, and we're not the whole body yet.
Well, we can't reflect the whole picture of God's purpose for mankind by ourselves.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying, like, those are all, like, everything you mentioned are stuff we actually don't have answers to.
I think I have a pretty good. And here's the thing. I don't necessarily like that line of argumentation because then it leads to almost a disdain towards knowledge, because you basically ask the question, like, if we can't know the answer with 100% irrefutable certainty, then why even ask the question? And I don't necessarily like that.
Well, you can ask the questions, but I'm saying, like, And like I like to even sit there and go, okay, was the earth truly created in 7 days, or was it over like 7,000 years? Because he also says a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day.
Oh, well, there's
So-
irrefutable proof that it wasn't built in 7 days.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I believe. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, I like to sit and, like, kind of get into that kind of stuff, but I wouldn't, like, focus on that fully. Like, understand what God has called humanity to do and us as believers to do. And then what is my part in that picture?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, well, you mentioned a lot of other stuff that we don't know the answers to.
Yeah, when you say what humanity is called to do, that's the macro I'm talking about. Why do we exist?
Well, then why did you talk
What's
about
his
the
purpose for
garden?
us? Because that's where he created us.
What about the tree? Why did he create the tree?
You want to hear my theory about why he created the
Because
tree?
he
Why
wanted
he put
us
it
to
there?
have free will.
Well, yeah, there's part of that. It even says in Deuteronomy, it echoes this sentiment. I place before you life and death. Choose life so that your children may live. How can you make that choice unless you've seen both in full measure? Unless you understand that there is an opposition to this. So yeah, there's a part of that free will thing, but he also knew it. He also created it knowing that we would rebel against him. So why did he create us the way that he did? And there's all these questions. And you can answer it simply with a blanket
feel like
statement
it's
of
a
free
rabbit
will. Huh?
I feel like it's a rabbit hole of
No,
questions.
I have a conclusion to this, I promise you. You can answer it blanket statement with free will, and that's honestly enough for me. But if it's not, here's my theory. Because you could also ask why he created Lucifer. Would they be tempted the way that they were without Lucifer?
Why don't snakes have legs? Well, I know why, but like, it'd be so much more better if they were lizards.
Anyways.
I hate snakes.
So God's goal in this is to create an intelligent creation that chooses, in his own image, that chooses to be in relationship with him. And we're about to figure this out with AI, by the way. But if you create something that is
I
fully...
feel like I live under a rock sometimes.
Yeah. You kind of... Have you not heard anything about AI?
No.
ChatGPT doesn't ring a bell?
Dude, I don't get into that kind of stuff. I keep my head down for the most part.
You're probably better off for it. Anyways, but we're about to learn this. When you create something fully autonomous and intelligent, it is inevitable that it is going to go outside of your perfect will because it's autonomous and intelligent, regardless of whether or not it's made in your image or not. So he knew this. So he put in place a plan not to create the perfect creation that would never turn against him, but to redeem his creation back to him, because he knows the only way to live an eternal relationship with an autonomous, intelligent creation that has every free will opportunity to go against you is to redeem that creation back to yourself through this tremendous love story. So from the time he put the tree in the garden, he knew that this was a long-term game. He could have had Adam and Eve be the perfect little yes men and do everything that he said immediately.
Yes men are actually really annoying.
And I think that God agrees with you. But he wanted us to desire relationship with him. He wanted there to be a hunger for relationship with him and an availability and an ability to engage in intimacy with him, even if it isn't easy, even if we have to lay down our lives in order to do it. That's what he wants. And in order to get that, you have to redeem a creation to yourself. You just can't create something and it be perfect straight out of the box like that. And also have free will. You can't have it both ways. God's smart enough to know that. He's far smarter than that. And I am not encompassing the perfect plan of God within my tiny human brain perfectly. I'm fully aware of that. But that's the only thing that makes sense to me when I ask questions like, why did God put the tree in the garden? There's a purpose for everything. See? I tied that back in. Here's another thing. A lot of us find ourselves in circumstances that we feel are so dire that they are void of any sort of purpose. We think to ourselves, there is no way that this could possibly be used for good. There is no way that this could possibly be redeemed. We look at even the passing of innocent people, disasters. We look at the mass evil that the carnality of man can cause in the world. And we think there's no way that this could possibly be used for good. But the amazing thing about God is, again, since he created everything, he is the only entity that it gets to sign. He's the only entity that gets to assign purpose to anything. which means that, yeah, your circumstance may not have any purpose yet, but that's because God hasn't touched it yet.
Well, and even like when I was a child, right? It's like I had this idea, I had this desire, I had this burning in me. And then it wasn't till later on when I experienced abuse, and then I had to hand it to him, and then he made something beautiful out of it, which has me able to do what I can do today, or what I do today.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Just
exactly
story
right.
to your point.
That's exactly right. I can even look at the deepest, darkest part of my life. Hey, would you shut up for 2 seconds, please? Yeah. We're going to close it out here in a few minutes because we wanted this one to be a short one.
Yeah.
But here's the last point that I wanted to hit, and I'll let you hit anything that's, bouncing around your noggin.
Oh, no, we don't want to go there.
Yeah. I want to add a Bible verse into this as a little proof, because I think that this is just such a beautiful truth. 1 sec, let me pull it up.
Does your watch have Batman on it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a Batman watch. Acts 13:36 is the verse. Do you know that off the top of your head?
No.
Okay. Here's the last point that I want to make. If you're still alive, your purpose isn't finished. And this applies not only to kind of the more elderly folks that feel like they've accomplished everything they
The
have to
retirement
accomplish.
people that are looking for something to do in life.
Yeah, that's not necessarily our audience. There are a lot of people.
Hey, Grandma and Grandpa watch this.
They're not old.
Okay.
Moving on. There are a lot of people watching this that I know feel like their life has no purpose. That's the lie that I want to break down with this. They feel as though maybe they messed up their purpose. They feel as though maybe they were qualified at one time, but now they're not qualified. Listen, if anybody should have rightfully lost their qualification to do anything for the kingdom,
us.
it was me. I don't know about you, but definitely me.
Well, no, just humanity in general.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, us as humans.
Just
Yeah, we have no right to be used by God.
no. None.
And I can definitely see that with me specifically. I had no right to be used by God. But in fact, after I became unqualified and turned back to him and repented and all of those things, I was actually used 100 times fold before that. So you're not unqualified. You haven't ruined your purpose. You haven't sinned away your anointing. None of that has happened. And if you're still breathing, if your heart is still beating, that means that God still has a purpose for you. There's still a reason for you to be here.
And that's what happened at my last suicide attempt. Like, it didn't work. And I know I've shared that before, but he literally said to me, like, I'm not done with you yet.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, maybe I should stop trying to do this.
Yeah.
So my purpose was not fulfilled. I hadn't lived out what he called me to live yet. I was pretty young at that time. So it's like, it's so true. Like, even through that, like, and I'm not saying that those who are able to go through with suicide, that their purpose wasn't, or that it was fulfilled and so they can move on.
Right.
Or that they didn't have one or anything like that. I'm saying, like, I know that was so true with me because I in no way, shape, or form had hit my full potential yet.
Yep. Yeah.
I probably still haven't, but we're not there yet.
Yeah. So this is what it says in Acts 13:36. Now when David had served God's purpose in his own generation, he fell asleep. He was buried with his ancestors, and his body decayed. It said when David had served God's purpose in his own generation, that's when he fell asleep. Not a minute sooner, not a minute later. God knows exactly when you're going to die. Absolutely. He knows everything that he would like you to do in his name before then, 100%. But make no mistake, if you're still breathing, no matter what you've accomplished or whether you've accomplished a lack thereof, if you're still breathing, there's a reason for you to be here. Last thing. I know I said this was the last thing, but I've got one more thing. If you try to act out your purpose in your own strength, you may very well do some good. I do believe that humanity has the capacity to do some good detached from God, but here's the thing, it fades away. It breaks down, it decays, it dies, just like everything else that we do in our own strength, just like our very bodies decay and fade away. Anything that you do in your own strength will be passed over in due time. But anything that you do in the strength and the power of God, within his perfect will and his perfect purpose is eternal. And it will live on in a kingdom and an eternity far away from here. Or maybe during the 1,000-year reign, however you want to see, whatever Jesus wants to do with that, right? The point is, it's eternal. No matter how small a thing that might be, even if it's just being a parent, right? That has eternal implications when you tap into something that is outside
Mary
your
raised
power.
Jesus.
Mary did raise Jesus, and now for some reason people pray to her.
I still don't get that one, but it's okay.
Anytime somebody asks me about the Catholicism, this is my basic answer. I don't pray to dead people. Mary was an amazing woman. Peter, Paul, all of them incredible people.
Awesome.
But they're dead. Jesus is not dead. I pray to him.
Yeah.
There we go.
Wrapping back up. Another, just someone, if people want like more practical tools on how to do this as well, someone that is truly, truly passionate about this is Michael Jr.
Yeah.
Helping people find their purpose. So I would definitely tap into any resources that he has.
Yeah.
Because he's amazing with that and truly can help you.
Are we plugging people now?
I'm just saying.
Are we plugging people? Shoot.
Michael Jr.
We're big time.
Love him.
I wonder how he's doing.
Good.
Good? Okay, cool. Dogs are barking. You know what that means. It's time to clock out.
Time to clock out.
See y'all later.